Hi, my name is Kristen Curtis, and I'm one of the registered dietitians with the Villages Health. Today's topic is Eat This, Not That. So over the course of the following slides, we're going to review specific food chains and products. However, we're not endorsing or discrediting those brands or products. The following slides are just intended as a general source of information. We're not recommending that you eat any or all of the products that are mentioned. Rather, our goal is to help you select calorie-controlled, nutrient-dense meals while still being able to eat the foods that you like. So we're going to go through 3 additions, starting with breakfast. So breakfast is the most important meal of the day. We often hear that, but do we really understand why? Well, the research says that those who eat breakfast are less likely to be overweight than those who skip it. So it's kind of like putting fuel in your car. You can't run on fumes, and our bodies need to be nourished in order to support a healthy metabolism. The key to a healthy breakfast is to avoid the sugary processed foods and refined carbohydrates, the high-fat meats, instead choosing things like whole grain cereals or breads, fresh or frozen fruit, low-fat dairy, or lean protein. So the following are a couple of types of cereal. I know growing up, I always thought Raisin Bran was such a healthy cereal. It had to be. My mom always ate that. But when we look at this, it's actually on the not that side. So the Fiber One original brand cereal versus the Raisin Bran cereal. So when we compare, you notice the big difference here is the amount of fiber and the amount of sugar per serving. So the calorie difference is not too significant, but 9 grams of sugar per serving. If we chose the Fiber One and added fresh or frozen fruit to it, we have a much more balanced, nutrient-dense breakfast than having the Raisin Bran. Moving on to yogurt, which seems to be a popular breakfast choice for many, and the yogurt aisle continues to seem to grow with the different types and brands. The Eat This side, we looked at a Oikos 000 coconut flavored yogurt versus a tropical Yoplait yogurt there on the right. So again, the calorie difference is not that significant, but we're getting more than twice the amount of protein and saving on the fat and sugar. So getting the extra protein will help keep you feel full longer, and skipping the extra sugar will help to stabilize the blood sugars. Moving on to a breakfast bread. So the Thomas's 100% whole wheat English muffin versus the Thomas's cinnamon raisin bagel. Well, the big difference here obviously is the size. So bagels tend to be very dense and hearty, very high in carbohydrates. Particularly the flavored bagels like the cinnamon raisin has 11 grams of sugar. So by using the Thomas's whole wheat English muffin, maybe adding some protein like some natural peanut butter, and even slicing up some fresh berries like strawberries and putting that on the English muffin or on the side is going to give us a high fiber, low sugar breakfast. Moving on to breakfast meats. Deal that we eat a bunch of processed foods, including breakfast meat, but if we choose to have some on occasion, choosing a leaner form like turkey sausage links versus the original Johnson's breakfast sausage, which is pork, is going to save us a lot of fat, particularly the saturated fat. So the saturated fat is what is associated with having higher cholesterol levels. So when we choose the turkey sausage, we save twice the calories and 4 times the amount of saturated fat. Coffee out. So if we went to Starbucks, the coffee light frappuccino versus the cinnamon dolce frappuccino. So both of which are a frozen coffee blend from Starbucks, but you can see that the cinnamon dolce frappuccino has 64 grams of carbohydrates. That's more than most people should consume an entire meal, and it's just from the drink. So we should really never waste our calories on drinks. But if we want to have something, have a treat, choosing that light frappuccino is a lower calorie, 0 fat option, and it still does give us some carbohydrates, but not nearly as the number in the alternative. Moving on to Panera, having something like a breakfast sandwich. So the turkey sausage, egg white, and spinach breakfast power sandwich versus the bacon, egg, and cheese on an Asiago cheese bagel. The key word here for me is cheese. So that's why the grams of fat go from 10 to 27. So by choosing the power sandwich, we're saving twice the sodium, 17 grams of fat, and 230 calories. Plus, we're getting a serving of vegetables and some whole grains. At McDonald's, so, traveling, we've all been there where we have to go through the drive-through here and there. The Egg White Delight McMuffin versus the Sausage McMuffin with at McDonald's. So delight yourself and save 220 calories and 22 grams of fat by choosing the Egg White Delight. You'll notice that the carbohydrates are the same for both options because both use that English muffin, which is the carbohydrate source. At Dunkin' Donuts, we stuck with a blueberry theme here, a blueberry coffee cake versus a blueberry butternut donut. So of course you can see right there all of that glaze, which is a good indicator of sugar, of course, but donuts are also fried. So if we chose the blueberry coffee cake, we could in fact have 2 pieces of that and still have fewer calories, fat, and sugar than in one donut. So here are some breakfast ideas for those of you that might be looking to spice up your morning routine. On the top left there, that's just a simple piece of avocado toast. So a whole grain toast with mashed up avocado, and you can season and flavor that however you'd like. Below that is a bowl of oatmeal with sliced bananas, almonds, and fresh blueberries. So a great whole grain, high fiber breakfast. In the middle is Greek yogurt, ideally a plain, non-fat or low-fat Greek yogurt, adding the flavor through your fresh or frozen fruit. And then on the top right is a vegetable omelet, an egg white omelet. So using egg whites instead of the full egg is going to save you on some of the cholesterol. And then you can see all of those colorful vegetables in there, which are going to be a great source of fiber. Additionally, using a sharper cheese like feta allows you to have that taste of having a cheesy omelet without having to use as much cheese compared to using something more mild. And then on the bottom is just a bowl of whole grain cereal with fresh berries on top, ideally using a low fat or fat-free milk or even something like almond milk. So moving on to lunch. It's important not to skip meals. So I know we can be busy in the middle of the day with whether we're out or on the go. There's a few simple swaps that can save us a lot. So when we're shopping, of course, we always want to be reading our food labels, but make sure you're focusing on the serving size first. When you're out, it's helpful to educate yourself on the nutrition content of restaurant and fast foods before you order. And sharing a meal with someone can allow you to give in to what you're really craving without completely blowing your goals or your budget for that matter. So at home, I'm looking at making something like a sandwich. Again, not ideal to use too much processed meat. Rather, it would be best if we made use some leftover chicken or turkey to make our own fresh sandwich. But if we chose to have a more processed form, the Applegate brand is one of the more natural forms. And then, of course, using something like turkey over salami is going to provide us with far fewer calories, no fat, and 500 milligrams less sodium. Both contain the same amount of protein, and the Applegate is chemical and antibiotic free. So what are we going to put that meat on? A whole wheat deli flat or a white hoagie roll? Well, of course, you can notice the size right there. So that's why the calories are so much higher. But you can see that the whole wheat deli flats have a much better source of fiber. So if we get at least 5 grams of fiber per serving in something that's a grain, that's considered to be an excellent source of whole grains. So let's say we want to go out to the Olive Garden. I know a lot of people that I've worked with like the soup salad and breadsticks lunch at the Olive Garden. So the minestrone versus the zuppa toscano. So the reason that the fat is so much higher is that the zuppa has a creamy broth, which is why it's so high in fat. The minestrone, on the other hand, is a low-fat soup. It's a vegetarian choice, so there's no meat there, and it still gives us protein because it has the beans, also giving us fiber. Let's say we went out to Applebee's for a salad. A lot of people think, well, if I go out, I'll just order a salad. That has to be a good choice. Well, you can see that if we order it incorrectly or don't educate ourselves before we go, we can easily consume 1,400 calories in something as simple as a salad. So the Thai shrimp salad at Applebee's versus the Oriental chicken salad. So if we looked this information up before we went, it might discourage us from ordering that chicken salad, or at least ordering it a little bit differently. You can notice that the chicken on that salad is fried. You can get it with grilled chicken, but a big source of the, you can see why there's 42 grams of sugar, that's from that salad dressing. So it's a very sweet form of dressing. Even if you care to use that dressing, simply getting it on the side and using less will save. Going back to McDonald's, if we have to go through the drive-through, on the eat this side, we have a hamburger, a side salad, and apple slices, or a Big Mac. So you can see there's an extra piece of bread there in the middle that we don't really need. But over there on the left, we still can enjoy a burger, plus have a salad and apples, and still save 260 calories and 20 grams of fat. On the side, if we're making that sandwich at home, choosing something like fresh fruit is a much better choice than a bag of potato chips. So we don't have any fat in fruit. It's naturally cholesterol free as well, and a good way to satisfy the sweet tooth for those of you that like to have something sweet after your meals. So on the drink this, not that side, infusing your water, this one is just strawberries and lemons versus a strawberry lemonade. This one happens to come from Wendy's. You can see that there's 400 calories and 96 grams of sugar in this lemonade. So a great way to add flavor to your water if you tend to get bored with plain water, throw in fresh fruit. Frozen fruit will keep it cold longer. You can also throw in herbs, things like cucumber, mint, all of which make great alternatives. On the sweet side, so going out for lunch, the strawberry white chocolate dolcini versus the warm apple crostata. These are from Carrabba's. It's hard to tell in the photo, but the big difference here and why there's so many fewer calories and less fat and sugar is because the white chocolate dolcini is one of those miniature desserts. So if we shared that warm apple crostata with the table, split it amongst 4 people, we would be more along the same lines. So some simple lunch ideas. On the top, we have a wrap that uses leftover chicken, some smashed avocado, greens, and tomatoes. So we have a good high fiber whole grain wrap with a lean protein coming from the chicken and a good source of that unsaturated fat coming from the avocado, which is going to add moisture and limit the need to use condiments like mayonnaise. On the bottom, that's just a vegetable soup. So utilizing leftover vegetables like kale and carrots and corn, your potatoes, anything that you have left over that you can throw into a soup. Add some beans in there for extra protein. In the middle on the top is a quinoa salad, which is a great cold salad for the summer months. It uses chickpeas or garbanzo beans for the protein source, as well as the quinoa, which is a grain and a protein, and then all of those colorful vegetables. And the bottom in the middle is a veggie burger. So using, a plant-based burger or black beans instead of the higher fat meats. On the top is a salmon salad, so using a piece of leftover salmon and throwing it on top of greens with vegetables. There's some avocado in there. Those little orange chunks are actually leftover roasted sweet potatoes, which make a great salad. And then on the bottom right there, that is a tuna stuffed avocado. So again, the avocado is a good source of fiber. It's a good source of potassium. And the tuna is a lean protein. So we add moisture to that tuna salad without needing to use much mayonnaise by using avocado. And you can see the colorful things in there. There's some red peppers, some yellow peppers, and onions, even throwing in some olives, which adds a little bit of that unsaturated fat, but a punch of flavor. And then lastly, moving on to dinner. Dinner tends to be the time when people overindulge, but if you think about hosting a party or providing a theme-based meal, we can eat healthy at home and not be in the restaurant so much. However, if you are going out, again, educating yourself on the nutrition content of the restaurant foods before you order them. Make a decision about what you're going to get before you go so that you can tame that temptation by not having to open the menu at all. And then again, you can share a meal with someone or simply bring half of it home. Ask for that to-go box right away when your food comes. So let's say we're having appetizers at home, having a hummus versus a French onion dip. So both could be used to dip some vegetables or crackers, ideally whole grain crackers, but by choosing the hummus, we save 50 calories and 6 grams of fat, plus the flavor combinations are endless. So one of my favorite recipes to make with the roasted red pepper hummus I typically make for the holidays. I mix that up and spread it on the bottom of a pie plate or a plate that's shaped like a Christmas tree or whatever you have. And then you start topping it. So you chop up your vegetables, diced up cucumbers and bell peppers, red onions, whatever you have on hand to make it really colorful. And it's almost like the 9-layer or 7-layer salad, but without all of the fat. On to appetizers out. So this is at Carrabba's. The arancini, that means fried rice balls versus the mozzarella marinara or cheese sticks. So you can see both of which fried options. So if you're really wanting something fried, the rice balls have 3 times less fat and 2 times fewer calories than the fried mozzarella. So better yet, if we skip that and go for the prosciutto asparagus, that's a much better choice, low in calories, and gets you some vegetables in there. Happy hour. So having alcohol, of course, the recommended intake is no more than 1 alcoholic beverage for women and no more than 2 for men. But looking at the source of the alcohol. So red wine, for example, 125 calories, 1 gram of sugar. So we're getting 30 times more sugar in a margarita that's made from mix than having a 5-ounce glass of wine. If we're having happy hour out, this one is at Longhorn Steakhouse. So the skinny blackberry or black raspberry sangria versus the pina colada. If we skip the pina colada, we could potentially have a side Caesar salad, a cup of soup, mashed potatoes, or grilled shrimp. So that just reinforces eating your calories and not drinking them. So 66 grams of carbohydrates and 10 grams of saturated fat are coming from that creamy high sugar pina colada. Making a salad at home using something like a tomato, onion, cucumber salad versus the caprese salad. Again, the cheese is the culprit here. So adding the fresh, crisp flavors of cucumber and onion and an oil-based dressing or oil and vinegar can save us a lot of calories and 15 grams of fat. Moving chilies. So again, that can be surprising for many people that something as simple as a salad could contain so many calories. But if we look at the components of that quesadilla explosion salad over there on the right, along the outside of the plate is a cheese quesadilla. So that's why there's so much fat and saturated fat. You can see that the dressing is a creamy one and it's already been drizzled on versus that Caribbean chicken salad over there on the left-hand side. It appears to be a smaller salad, yes, but it does have the grilled chicken, more vegetables, and doesn't have all of the cheese and high-fat condiments that the other one does. The main event at home, so something like a roasted chicken with vegetables and Texas toast versus the chicken crunch with vegetables and Texas toast. So the point I'm trying to make here is that bread often gets a bad name. But we can see by using a roasted chicken with something flavorful like balsamic and skipping the stuffing and cream sauce can save us quite a few calories, 20 grams of carbohydrates without having to skip the bread. The main event at Bonefish Grill, which I know is a popular one for many, the grilled tilapia versus the Bang Bang shrimp tacos. So by choosing the grilled tilapia, you would still have room to share the Bang Bang shrimp appetizer with your companion and still save 416 calories. So you can see over there that the Bang Bang shrimp tacos, the shrimp of course is fried, but then you're also looking at 3 flour tortillas, which is why it's so high in carbohydrates. Dessert at home, so if you're hosting, utilizing fresh fruit with something like fat-free Reddi-wip versus a pre-made iced cake. So again, the option on the left looks much more visually appealing. Plus, we're also saving 275 calories, 17 grams of fat, and 31 grams of carbohydrates. Our berries are a great source of fiber. They're rich in vitamin C, potassium, and antioxidants. Let's say that we are going out for dessert. So Peach Wave is a frozen yogurt bar where you're in charge of how you compose that frozen yogurt. So there's ways to go very right and ways to go very wrong at Peach Wave. But you can see this option uses a low-fat frozen yogurt with berries, and it skips the chocolate toppings and the higher fat choices, as well as the sugary caramel and chocolate sauce. So it's pretty obvious here that if we're leaving out back, yogurt on the way home can save you an entire day's worth of calories and fat. So almost 1,600 calories in that Outback Chocolate Thunder from Down Under. And here are some dinner ideas. So the one on the top left is a roasted chicken sheet pan meal. So you've got your protein and your vegetables, your starch, all there on one sheet pan. Below that is a turkey taco bowl, so using turkey instead of ground beef is going to save you on some saturated fat, and then all of those rich, colorful vegetables underneath. On the top in the middle is a piece of baked fish alongside some couscous arugula salad with fresh vegetables. Below that is a roasted pork tenderloin with zucchini and yellow squash ribbons. Over there on the right-hand side is grilled salmon with grilled vegetables. And then below that is a tofu bowl. So a great vegetarian option or meatless option while still getting the protein, and the brown rice is a good whole grain along with the broccoli or whatever vegetable you have on hand. Last, I know a lot of people always ask, well, what can I have for a snack? My general recommendation for snacks is to try to sneak in your whole foods here. So up there on the left-hand side, we can see we've got all of these fresh, colorful vegetables with some hummus, even some whole wheat pita. Below that, we've got our whole apple cut into slices with some natural peanut butter, our cottage cheese and peaches. Below that is a homemade trail mix, so you save a lot on sodium and added sugars by making your own trail mix. Below that is some frozen yogurt covered blueberries, so you can take any fruit and dip it into a yogurt, ideally a Greek yogurt, put it on some wax paper on top of a cookie sheet in the freezer, and then plop them into an airtight container, and they store great in the freezer and are really wonderful for those hot summer months. On the top right is a whole grain cracker topped with low-fat ricotta cheese and cucumber slices. Below that is roasted chickpeas or garbanzo beans. So using the canned chickpeas or garbanzo beans, giving them a good rinse and putting them in a big Ziploc bag with a little bit of avocado oil and seasoning them however you'd like. You can do spicy, you can do sweet forms. The curry powder is one of my favorites, but they're a great crunchy snack, and they provide a good source of fiber and protein as well. And then below that is a yogurt peanut butter dip. So you can mix yogurt and peanut butter together and use that to dip your fresh fruits in, or some pretzels, which are baked instead of having a fried snack. And that's a good way to satisfy a sweet tooth while also incorporating a serving of fruit. So in conclusion, we do want to select foods that we enjoy. We don't want to select foods that we'll regret eating, but we don't want to restrict ourselves to the point where we end up making poor decisions down the road. We do need to pay attention to portions. That's the most important part, not to overeat. Planning ahead to have healthy choices on hand instead of eating so many restaurant or fast food items. Not drinking your calories, making sure you're staying hydrated. Water is always the best choice, but if you tend to get bored with it, again, consider some of those options that I mentioned about infusing your water. I hope today's presentation was helpful for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly. My email address is kristen.curtis@thevillageshealth.com. Thank you and have a great day.